I'm Shauna. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In today's video, I'm going to try to make a faux leather top. So if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you probably know that I used to make leather purses with my dad during quarantine, and I made a couple of faux leather purses since then for my friends. So I have some faux leather fabric here that I never got around to using to make a purse, so I thought it'd be fun to try to make a little festive holiday top out of it. I know we're trying to get clothes and the holidays are really soon, but I'm a last minute person, so we're just gonna try, and I have a feeling it's gonna be pretty simple and easy. So without further ado, let's get started. So I was just scrolling through Pinterest the other day, you know, as everyone does probably nowadays, but I came across this photo of a faux leather like tie top, and I asked y'all on my TikTok what little Christmas or holiday inspired DIY I should try, and a lot of people said this one. And I was kind of happy about that because this one also looks the easiest and I can probably do it the quickest. So I thought we can go ahead and start with this one, and maybe I'll get to some other ones that other people voted on in a later video. So this is what the inspiration looks like, and I have some faux leather fabric right here. You don't even have to use leather or faux leather. I think this would be still really cute with normal fabric, but this is what I'm using today. This is from the brand Orseund faux leather black fabric. It's not too thick, so I think it's gonna be fine on my sewing machine. I'm just gonna use a thicker denim needle just to be safe, but other than that, I think we'll be good. So the first step that you want to do is cut however long you want it to be. So you want it to be able to wrap around your chest and have a little bit of excess to tie a knot or a bow. So coincidentally, this fabric is exactly the length that I already need it to be. It can wrap around my chest and has some excess to tie, so I don't have to cut it lengthwise, but I am going to have to cut it widthwise. I think that's the word, horizontally. It depends on like your chest size of how much coverage you also want it to have. So I'm thinking about just cutting it straight in half along that fold, because I want to leave a little bit of room for a small seam, and I don't want it to be like too revealing. I want it to be somewhat coverage. And then if there's some seam allowance, and when you tie the knot, it'll scrunch up a little bit. So I'm thinking that'll be pretty good. I can always make it smaller as we go. Now that I have my leather piece cut, we want to add a little bit of shape to it. And by that I mean you want the end pieces of where you would tie the knot to be a little bit thinner. So it's gonna be thicker, and then it's gonna get a little bit skinnier right when you're gonna where you would tie the ties, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. I'm also just winging it as I go. So I think what I'm gonna do is measure my bust, my chest size, so I know how much needs to be at least big enough to cover my boobs so my boobs aren't falling out. And then whatever is left, I'm going to taper into a small triangle for the ties. I started by measuring my bust, which is about 34 inches. I then folded the piece of leather in half, longwise, and marked the center with a fabric pen. I then measured out 17 inches on both sides of the center mark and marked those as well. This way, there is a section that is 34 inches long in the center of the fabric, and whatever is left over on the left or right sides will be used as the ties. After trying the piece on in the mirror, I felt that there was a little bit too much fabric left over for the ties, so I cut off about 2 inches from each side and then redrew the triangles. I then started hemming, and I was making about a 1-inch seam, but that might be different for you depending on how much fabric you're using. Now that I have it all pinned, I'm just going to sew it. Just slowly sew a straight stitch hem across both sides, and I'm using a denim needle on my sewing machine since this is leather fabric, but it's not too thick, so I don't think it should be a problem. But if you are using leather, use the correct needle, go slowly to make sure the needle doesn't break. This is what it looks like so far. It's basically almost done. I do feel a bit naked in this, but I'm going to add some straps and just fix up some of the stitching, and then we're gonna be done. That was pretty easy. So I put it on. This is how it would like be. And I'm taking my little chalk marker and just marking where I want the straps to be. I want them to be kind of wide. I want it to be like wide shoulder, so it's pretty open. So I'm marking it there and here. So I'm going to add the straps right here. So for the straps, I went to Joann's Fabric and picked out this really thin coil, and it kind of has a leathery look to it, although it doesn't feel like leather. And let me tell you what it's called. It is called Black Leatherette Cord Trim, and I got about 2 yards of it. So I'm going to attach it and attach it to the front and back of the shirt, and then it's going to tie at the top. So I got a lot. I got about 2 yards so that I can leave room for like a bow and some of it hanging. And I think that's gonna look really cute.
Don't be afraid to be afraid, my darling. 'Cause these days are getting older, I promise you. You said that you wouldn't be afraid. Well, darling, you lied, and you lied, and you lied. 'Cause you're just so tape machine's getting slower. So just take my word of advice.